Hi, welcome back. I'm Kelly Hogan, and I am joined by Nannette Silvernail, who is one of my assistant coaches here at my Zero Carb Life, and she has actually been on the channel twice before.
hmm
Twice, yeah. So I wrote down a couple notes, but first I want to say that I just came on this video, and Nannette and I have been sort of planning out what we wanted to say, and we're both we'll be honest, we're a little unsure. We've got some ideas. But right as we logged on, Nannette just said, "Hey, let's pray about it." And we just had prayer. So thank you for that.
You're
Whatever is said, we just really genuinely want it to reach the people that it needs to reach. So
absolutely. Yep.
folks who aren't in the groups right now, so either they've been here before or maybe never, they might not be aware about breakout rooms.
Mm.
So every single month, we have 4 sessions. And in sessions 2 and 3, there are some parts of my lesson that I have to cover every month, like how the TDEE works for those that are ready, and how to do some food tracking for those that are ready, and macros and metabolic reset days. So I've got my stuff. And it was kind of frustrating before because it was like, gosh, we've got returning people and new people, but I have to go over some of these basics. So enter the breakout room. So while I do my thing, Nannette and our other coach, Dana, they go off and do a lesson. And we're going to talk about the last couple of lessons today.
Yep.
And then Kathy and Karen, our little chatty cats, they go off and they host just they hold space for people who just want to talk. So we're trying to diversify. But in the last 2 sessions, you've covered some emotional eating stuff and mindset. What did the mindset piece mean to you? And what did you bring to the breakout rooms?
Okay. So I decided to go straight to the book, Mindset by Carol Dweck, that my husband and I read about 12 years ago. Based on research, she described it as two different mindsets, and one is fixed and one is growth. And back when I read it, I'm like, oh, I clearly am predominantly a growth mindset person. I'm open to change, ready to change. As soon as I realize something needs to be different, I'm there. Okay. And I informed my husband that clearly you're predominantly a fixed mindset. So that's where my talk went from there. So, and I picture it as there being a line like a fraction, and on the top is growth and fixed is down below. And people can, be more fixed about certain areas of their life, but be growth about others.
Let me just interject that I know that's true for myself. There are some areas where I take coaching really well and criticism really well. And then there's athleticism.
Exactly.
We're
Yep.
like, I don't want to participate. I can't. I'm not good at that. Don't tell me what to do. We'll play baseball in the backyard, and my husband will be like, maybe if you don't even. I'm not, I've never been very coachable when it comes to athleticism or sports, physical things. I'm just so self-conscious
Right.
and
Right.
guarded about it that it
Yeah.
makes it hard for me to feel that, oh, I could grow from this experience.
And for me, I'm growth when it comes to anything I have solid control over. I don't doubt in my home, about my kids.
Mhm.
But when it comes to relationships with people on the outside, where I don't feel like I have as much control, I might go back into old ways. Like if I'm dealing with family who you have the old mindsets of childhood, then it gets a little more complicated, right? That you might
Right.
go back to thinking, oh, no, I have to stay in that little box that I've always been in a relationship with them. And in our groups, going carnivore, diet, health might be brand new to them. It might be feel outside of their wheelhouse, outside of their control, outside of their house. So they might feel that same fixed and surrounded by family. Okay, think of the family dynamics.
Yes.
We have always eaten this way. Who are you to be different and bring in these new ideas and threaten the fun and festivity we used to have around food? So
Yeah.
even if you're generally a person that likes to grab the new and the different, you're bringing in something hard and different. So yeah, your mindset's going to make a big difference in how successful you might be.
I hadn't really thought about the people you're with. So even if you have this amazing growth mindset when it comes to your diet and lifestyle changes, if the people you're surrounded by in your home are fixed mindset, this is
Mhm.
how we do it. It's Christmas. We have to have the cookies.
Exactly.
That can be
Obstacles. They become obstacles you never realized that you had before.
yes. So in the past, I've shared these 20 foundational thoughts where one night I was making a list of like the ideas that have been so impactful for me for my years of carnivore. And I have presented this list before, and you have too. And some people are like, man, that's it. That really hit. And then there are the others. Right? So when you've presented these lists, what have you noticed how other people react to it and maybe why you feel like that's the case and which of these foundational thoughts sort of apply the most to this topic?
Okay. Well, first of all, some of your foundational thoughts, for example, so we can understand what you're talking about. Just about every month, someone will talk about laying their daily brick, right?
Yes.
That we can only do what we can do, what we've committed to do. And then at the end of the day, you submit it to the Lord, like, there you go. And our goal is not to build the brick wall. I mean, that is ultimately our goal, but it's not our daily commitment. And it would feel overwhelming if we said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. 120 pounds, here I come, right? A lot of
Yes.
people come into our group with something like that as big a goal. And what we focus on is what can you do today, right? Some people, that just changes their world. Then you ask yourself, what went right today? Because some days you're not going to. We call them commitments rather than goals. It just feels more doable. A goal feels bigger, right? And it's just a daily commitment. And some days we're not going to be able to fulfill all the commitments we made to ourselves. And our perspective is, rather than to be discouraged about what you didn't do, be encouraged by what you did do, because this is a journey.
Yes.
So that's another one. The question at the end of the day, what went right today? Rather than focusing on the negative, focusing on the gains, the successes, and especially because our group is very focused on weight loss, actually, to really, the word gains is powerful because we never thought about that before. We're trying to lose parts of ourselves, get smaller, shrink. You've said it this way before, shrink in this world. How negative is that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there shouldn't be less of me in this world. There should be more, right?
Right. If the goal of every single day is, I just have to get smaller, I feel like there's such a negative connotation with that versus
Right.
today I want to get more consistent. Today I want to get stronger. Today I'm going to look for all the ways that I became bigger.
Right.
Not on the scale, but in other ways.
And how about healthier? So that I can be bigger in the world, so that I can serve more people, so I can serve God better, so that I can answer every call, so that I'm available, so that I'm the most powerful tool ever put on this planet to do what I'm called to do, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And another one that I love is when, particularly, you can appreciate it when you've been at this for a little while and you start to appreciate no more cravings, approaching the potluck or whatever event, and you're finding it easier just to, there's the meat, there's the meat. And that brings about the fear of missing out being replaced by the joy of missing out.
Yes.
It's really hard in the early days to appreciate this, but as soon as you start looking at those wins, keeping a list of those wins to remind yourself, where have I been? Where have I come from? Then you're like, no. And for me, the joy of missing out is on having to keep inventory in my house of produce that dies really quickly. Having to think of my side dish, you know what I mean? And prepare it and keep that kind of inventory. There's so many joys of missing out in this way of life. But the joys especially we're thinking of is the reduction in inflammation pain that you'll experience. For me, it was a ridding of IBS and chronic headaches and so many things, bad sleep, anxiety, mental health, brain issues. So joy.
Yes. And when we're in this negative mindset, people tend to just focus on, oh, I can't have that anymore or that food anymore. And it's all about this fear of what if so and so in the family cooks their favorite dish and I'm going to miss out on that. And they can just look as far as they can see into the future. And it's all about what they're going to miss out on. And
Exactly.
the reframe is think of the pain you'll miss out on. Think of the dementia and Alzheimer's and mental fog that you're going to miss out
Yeah.
on if we can, keep our blood sugar down and feel good. Think of the food obsession we're going to miss out on. So
Uh-huh.
yes, I love that
Yeah.
reframe.
And another foundational thought that I absolutely love is the Bible verse that I know you can quote, but is it there's enough worry for today? Is that the Bible verse?
Oh, today has enough troubles of its own.
Thank you. So let's just focus on today, right? That's a response I have to a lot of people who a couple weeks in will be like, I don't know why I'm self-sabotaging. And they sometimes get to the heart of, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. I mean, I like to compare that to you've been in a relationship with someone for a while and they want to invite you home to mama. Okay. And you're like, whoa, this is a huge commitment. I'm not ready if I want to commit to life.
Yeah,
And I say, hey, how about if you just commit to today
right.
and let tomorrow figure itself out? Let's just see if you can do it today. And every day, if you think that way, I've literally been carnivore one day at a time for over 3 years.
Yes.
So I like that one too. And to get to your original question, how mindset impacts how people receive this information is I'll present this, you'll present this meeting after meeting, and literally within 24 hours, we have private, very private Facebook groups, and you'll see posts of self-accusing, like I screwed up, I'm back to the carbs, and like they totally forgot everything you said, and these mantras, these thoughts, and it's over and over again, and we can, of course, lift them up, help them discover their obstacles. But we wanted to talk more so that mindset that divides the ones that just at some point in their journey, one of these foundational thoughts just become an aha to flip everything for them. That's kind of all they needed. Like one of your foundational thoughts, if meat is not the solution, hunger wasn't the problem. Like literally I put that as a sticky note on my fridge. And that was kind of my aha moment. It's a little hard for me to emotionally eat if I have to go through that note.
Yeah.
And ascertain whether hunger is the true problem. So that was a huge aha moment for me, but I have typically a growth mindset. Why wouldn't something like that really change somebody else? Even though when you present it to them, they're like, aha, thank you, I finally understand. But the next day, they're down low, right? So that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah. And part of that, you and I both know good and well, is just part of what's going to come with any addictive substance, right? Like, especially a substance that people were brought up on from the time they were very tiny. And that wasn't their fault. They were given this food, and something in their brain was like, oh, I need that, more of that. When I'm sad, here, take more of that, right? When you fall and scrape your knee, here, have one of that on a stick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Put it in a cone. You just, here we go, take the sugar. And so when we get, to adulthood and somebody tells us something that we feel like should be a super aha moment, I think sometimes it's like, yeah, okay, I get that. But the addiction is still really strong because it's a substance that
Yeah.
was designed to be that way. So I think in part, it's worth letting ourselves off the hook and knowing that we did the best we could at the time. I've been just flat out asked, how could you have ever let yourself get that big?
Wow.
And
Oh,
it's
what a
like, well, at the time, I was genuinely doing the best I could that I knew to do with the emotions I was feeling, with the addiction I was feeling, with the information nutritionally that I was given.
Mhm.
And so I think part of it is forgiving my past self and realizing she was really trying. She
Mhm.
wasn't just letting it go and throwing her hands in the air. I was genuinely trying. And now I have new information and I have new coping skills and, I have new foods to replace those addictions. I can fill myself up with this delicious meat and know that by avoiding all sweet tastes, I think that's another thing is people are trying so hard, but they keep going back to a little of this, a little of that. And then it's like, no mindset is going to overcome
Absolutely.
bits of an addictive substance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I couldn't either. I have a great mindset, Nannette. I really, I
You
think
do.
I
You
do.
do.
I try very hard to have a good mindset. If I were today to take my happy, positive growth mindset and go eat one sweet keto treat, I don't know that my mindset would be enough. So I really want people to understand that your headspace matters, but what we put into our bodies really matters too, because it can override some things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We hadn't even planned on saying any of that, but there it is. Okay.
So true. So very true. And I like to encourage people. I feel like my job is to encourage them to the 8-week mark, because I was convinced pretty quickly, oh yeah, I got to do this the rest of my life. And after that point, I wasn't consistent. I think accepting that we make mistakes, and that mistakes, I mean, you said something about growth mindset. You might even have it in our notes here, that it's the perspective of the person who makes the most mistakes is the one who learns the most in this life, is the one who can, really get to, because that's the only way you learn. But if you look at a mistake as evidence that you are less than, that you screwed up, maybe you came from a background where when you made a mistake, it wasn't like, oh, okay, let's fix that, and then I'll show you how to do it better next time. But it was, oh, you're such an embarrassment. You should know better. It's going to impact how you address mistakes. And that's no fault of theirs either, right? My job is to get people to the 8-week mark, because probably 2 weeks in, I was convinced this is a way of life for me. My husband, but I'm more of a moderator, we call it in the group, which means if I ate a blueberry, it would be fine. First of all, I'm pretty self-forgiving, even if it's on my list of no, we're not going to do that. And it doesn't impact me. It doesn't bring back the lizard brain, the brain of addiction easily. My husband is what we call an abstainer. He's realized one sweet taste and he instantly goes to, I messed up today. I guess today's gone. Tomorrow's a new day. I'll start tomorrow. Right. We used to literally call it our mañana diet, because that was what, not the banana diet, the mañana diet.
Mañana.
Because that was the reason we had the best intentions, the best knowledge, right? But today, we would use it as the excuse every day. Whoops, we messed up today. As though 24 hours is like the box with which you can decide to do anything better.
No change can occur till midnight.
Right? And I will say, you've probably seen me write this on Facebook before. It's like, oh, you screwed up the first eighth of the day. You got 7/8 of the day to go. So make it a great day, as Karen Miles would say. The 7/8 left, make it great, right?
Just switch, go get some meat. It's okay.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely.
So when you talked about the book Mindset, which I have not read, it reminded me of a book by Stephen Covey called The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah.
And when I taught public school, our school was called a lighthouse school, which is actually a really big award given by the Stephen Covey Foundation, where your staff have to every single year undergo training, and we had to then pass this on to our students. The 7 habits. I have written elementary school music songs about the 7 habits. I have a 7 habits rap that I'm going to bust out right now. I'm just kidding. I'm definitely not doing that, but I could. Okay. And the first habit of highly effective people is being proactive and versus reactive. And part of being proactive is controlling the things that we can and recognizing the things that we cannot. And I know there's what is the serenity prayer, right? Is a little bit similar to that. And help me, Lord, to know the difference, which I don't think that's actually in the Bible, but it is a really lovely thought. It's a lovely thought.
Yeah.
And for me, it is really helpful. So I'm going to pull up a graphic that we've used in the group here recently. So this is based off of a Stephen Covey graphic that I saw a long time ago. And I looked it back up, and it was not health related. It was sort of things like, I cannot control what people think of me or say about me. I can just simply control how I react in that moment. Okay. Well, I went and looked at it and I thought, oh man, we should make this a lot meatier. So something about this gives me so much peace. And you and I have talked about that before. And so if we look inside the circle, the only things we can control, and I know I've said this here a lot, but I am actually in charge of every bite that I take. And I know sometimes people be like, I couldn't be carnivore because I was, and I mean, I've heard it all. Everything from on a cruise, and I was like, and it's hard to not say it. I mean, it's really easy to be a carnivore on a cruise. It really
Oh,
is,
yeah.
actually. They'll just bring you as many steaks as you want. But
Mhm.
no matter where I am in control of whether or not I take the bite. I may not be in control of what food is available, but what I eat and the walks I take. And people say, well, I'm not in charge of my sleep. I'm trying for good sleep. No, but look over here. It's our bedtime routines that we're in charge of. I
Right.
just feel like if we knew the things we could take off of our shoulders, the stuff outside of this circle, I can't control what Nannette says or does, right? Any more than I can below that, the weather. But then also, I am not, take it off, y'all. Take off the idea that you are in charge of this healing or your body fat, what people think of your body, your loose skin, the scale, your muscles, and focus instead of like, I've got to make that number go up. I've got to make this go up. Well, you just control how much you lift at the gym. How many walks did you take? Those kind of things.
Yeah, I see the inner circle and I go, absolutely, those are my bricks. I can do this. Okay, so my husband, as an example of someone who is reactive, and over the years when I would describe him, I would say, it's like you're buffeted by the wind. You're an unmoored ship, and you're like, oh, it's not my fault. The wind took me this way.
I
And
see.
that's why I've always described it until I remembered as I was, working towards the presentation. Oh, growth versus fixed. And now you've presented proactive versus
Yeah,
reactive. He was very fixed that he couldn't. That was his go-to. Never done it before, so I can't.
I
Wasn't
can't.
born able to, right?
Yes.
And reactive is you react out of whoa, I can't. A whoa, that's not comfortable, right?
Right.
So he said he would look at this graphic and thought that only the special people could do those things in the center of the circle, that they were different from him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, he looked at you. When we entered your group, he thought Kelly was special. And you are, darling. But
Oh, I'm special.
oh, you're special, all right. But he thought, okay, well, I certainly couldn't lose as much weight as Kelly could, but what can she give me to get me, to where I'd like to go? But he certainly thought he wasn't capable the way you are. And he wouldn't have thought he was capable to make all the choices that you were because, well, he would say, and many people do, my life is different.
Yeah.
I have it harder than you. Oh, so many people come into our group with, now I'm sure I'm different from everyone here because weight loss isn't, well, a lot of people aren't there for weight loss. They're there. We have autoimmune issues and just inflammation pain and so many struggles. And so when you walk into the group, kind of accusing and acting like everyone's limitations, including your own, that is a reactive or a fixed mindset. And thankfully, Craig has given me insight that these people really think that you and I are different, are special, have less hardship, have had a better and easier past, or we're just made special in that we're optimists, right? Something like that. They're going to explain away why someone else can do it and they can't. And he said, that's what kept me fixed, my eyes fixed on everything outside of the circle of control. And he said, conveniently, because then I didn't have to do anything, right?
Right.
So it is self-serving kind of to stay in your fixed mindset, because it's easier in a way, choose your hard,
Yes.
to continue on the same familiar path, right?
Yes. I
Yeah.
remember Craig, one day I said, I really would love in the mornings to just lay in bed and drink coffee and scroll on my phone. I don't just wake up going, let's take a walk. And he was like, he laughed. He said, I literally have it in my head that you just wake up wanting to take a walk. And I was like,
Absolutely. Yep.
No, he said, so some days you really don't want to do the things in the circle. I'm like, I don't know if there are any days when I want to do all of the things in the circle. I mean, truly, this is why I have to have a checklist and an accountability group. And, I write it down and I share every single night with the groups what I ate and the walks I took, because I don't just naturally default to wanting to do these things.
Yeah.
I think that fixed mindset assumes everyone else just wants to do it. It's their nature. I have this tendency to do the opposite. Like, yes, we all do.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And the thought that I can't change.
Yes.
Just
It is
well,
what it is.
it's that's right. It is what it is. I am who I am. You can't change it. I'm like, oh baby, oh yes you can. I've seen so many people change.
Yeah.
And I love it when it surprises them the most.
Yes.
After my mindset talk, we had time for a little chat last week, and one lady said over the past, was getting emotional. She said, just this week, I realized it's been a year that I've been carnivore. And when I joined, I was just like, I just want the weight loss, but I'll do the things. So she chose some commitments. And she said, and I looked around when I realized it's been a year, and I realized I have a vibration plate. I'm doing lymph massage. I'm mouth shaping. I'm going for daily walks. She said, if someone had told me I had to do those things a year ago, or even that I would do those things over the next year, I would have been like, no way. Right. That's not me. And she said, and now I'm looking back, and she was getting so emotional. It said, that's who I am now. I just slowly became that. And we both were like at the same time, brick by brick, you just chose one. And she surprised herself at who she could become. So that's the exciting thing about seeing people come out of a thought that they thought they were stuck in, and then slowly realize, I'm growing, I'm changing. And then it opens you up to more. And wow, if I can do that, what else can I do? Sometimes we have to slow people down. It's like, no, next year's not your marathon year,
Yeah, you don't need 15 new commitments this month. Like, just pick
exactly
maybe 3 that feel doable for your life right now.
Exactly.
If anybody had described what my life now would be like to me when I was that very first day hearing from my doctor, well, you need to lose at least 100 pounds because you're incredibly inflamed, and this isn't going to change until you do lose the weight and you stop eating carbs. And day one, if you had shown me a video of me now, I would not have even had a clue who I was.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Things can change. So yes, for me, one of the biggest mindset pieces is to let go of all that stuff outside of the circle, because the more I focus on that, the more crazy I feel, because you can't control all of those metrics. You can't make your muscle mass grow. And it's like watching the news and thinking you're going to change all the news stories. You can't. But sometimes you'll watch a news story and think, oh, gosh, well, I could contribute something to this cause. If we had the hurricanes recently, right? Like, is there something you can do? When we take action, then our anxiety starts to release, because we're putting it into action and we're making something happen.
Absolutely.
Same for this list. When I read the stuff at the bottom, make my muscle grow, make healing occur, lose body fat, like, I can't control that in the back scale. But if I think, okay, what can I do that is 100% in my control?
Absolutely.
Woo, okay.
Yeah. What you're describing, my greatest motivator over the years has been my mental health, my anxiety. And an eliminator, it's like, what do I have to do to lower my anxiety? Yes. And that's why I would choose to change. So my big challenge is overwhelm. So my go-to is to shrink my to-do list as best I can. And in my emotional eating video, I did mention that with the criteria of who will die today if I do not do this thing on my to-do list, Who
Yes.
will be maimed today if I don't do this thing on my to-do list? And it is so easy to take things off your to-do list using that criteria. Thank you, God, that I'm not a brain surgeon. So
Yes.
usually there aren't too many things on my list that's the answer to. And realizing that I am a tool. It sounds terrible, but I'm a caregiver. You didn't introduce me as such. So it's a little clearer how my body is my tool. And if I don't take care of it, then I am not able to do my work, right?
Right.
So it's been so important to acknowledge that it's really important that my mental health, that I take care of myself, is just so important that it's worth just chiseling, getting to the heart of what you can do. And
Yeah.
some days it's like, what's the thing that will relieve all of the stress in my brain right now? That's the only thing I have to do today.
Right.
And then I'm at a new, nice homeostatic level of I can do the harder things tomorrow. Just really honoring yourself and doing whatever you have to do to keep your eyes fixed in the right place rather than distracted by all the stressors in your life.
Yes. And you've talked before about how you have non-negotiables, but not a lot of non-negotiables, like as few as possible to keep yourself healthy and well. Both of us have the non-negotiable of carnivore. We're not going to eat the foods that are going to cause us mental and physical issues.
Right. Mm-hmm.
My list at this point in my life of things that I have committed to, I'm at a point right now where I can keep a pretty solid list.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And for those who are not familiar with you, I think this would be a good time to say that if anyone's watching right now and you think they don't understand my life and that it's hard and I'm a caregiver for someone, we have 4 assistant coaches in the groups, and Nannette is one of them. One of the reasons I absolutely love what y'all bring to the group is I don't think any of you have it easy. And frankly, who does? Most people have their own challenges. But seriously, y'all, they really have challenges. So Nannette and her husband, full-time caregivers of their adult daughter with autism, and y'all have to do most everything.
And yeah, so generally speaking, everything we have to do to care for our bodies, we have to do it for another human being in our house.
Right.
So yeah, it's we live very differently. And then your other coaches,
Yeah. Karen Miles, her husband, has been fighting cancer since this past summer. Dana Barker, her husband, has Parkinson's. It requires a lot of appointments and her help. And Kathy David, she has not shared with me a lot of her struggles, but I know that she did lose her husband several years ago. She lives alone. And you know what people frequently say? I do fine until I'm alone. When I'm alone in the house with food, then that's when a lot of binge tendency. Well, Kathy's alone in her house.
right?
Like, we've all got struggles. So if someone's watching and their go-to is but I, and it's like, oh, that's fixed mindset.
Yeah.
There are people succeeding in this very similar situation because they have mentally found a way to grow into it.
Yeah. And that's what I love about our group. Like, we're not saying, oh, people with a fixed mindset, don't join. You're so frustrating, right?
Yeah.
No, we are not saying that. We're saying that we have so many folks who've been there. First of all, we've seen your mindset in the past, and like that lady who couldn't picture herself a year ago being who she is now. We've also seen mindsets change, right?
Oh, yes.
And people showing themselves what they can do. So no, when we see someone like you, we see hope. We know what you can be, right?
Yes.
And one day when on Facebook, when someone was, I don't remember what the problem was, but I encouraged them that in this group, and I did the math, just the group they were in, you have 8 groups.
Yeah.
Just in that group, there were well over 4,000 years of life experience.
Wow.
And we know that most of them have been on this nutrition journey for a long time. We have every kind of person in there, and there is somebody in there who can relate.
Yeah.
And we see it so many times over and over that even if we haven't personally experienced it, we know the words, we know the heart, we have a compassion, and we've seen people change, and we have hope for everybody. So I think that's the exciting thing about our group, and why we're able to talk about mindset. We're not afraid of it, to say, oh, you have a good one, you have a bad one. No, they're not good and bad.
No.
They're just, we each start out with a different deck of cards, genetically, our upbringing and everything. And Carol Dweck, in her book Mindset, makes clear that, I'm sure Covey does too, that things said and done to you that you weren't even aware of just kind of form this, right? And it's not on you, right? It's just what you happen to come to the table with. But we have a heart for everybody's individual experience. And that's why so many different, I love every week when you say, hey, can I hear about your wins? You want to hear about their concerns and their hardships too, but we always ask for the wins.
Another thing about being in a group when it comes to trying to switch from a fixed mindset to growth is you get to see how other people change, and it opens your own mind to the idea of, wow, I see that change in you. Mm-hmm. And it allows your brain to think, I think I could do that too. This week we were watching the video of the little girl box jumping. Mm-hmm. And there was an older lady learning to jump rope. And I was just trying to bring clips of people who could not do something. But they stuck with it, and they failed, and they stepped on the jump rope, and they fell off the box, 10 times in a row. Yeah. And then eventually they get there. And to me, it's just a powerful reminder. Keep allowing yourself to mess up, but keep pushing yourself to try, and keep your mind open to the idea that, yes, you can change.
Absolutely.
Your past does not define my next move. Surprise us. Surprise yourself. Go get the steak,
Yeah. There's I've been carnivore for a pretty long time. I find it pretty easy right now. I'm a coach, right? There's a lady in our group in the last 24 hours who did a post. She's a sweet, much older than me lady in Australia, who I'm like, if she can do this,
yes,
what else can I do?
Yeah.
What else can I do? Why am I not making sure I do that walk? Well, I know I have my limitations, but it makes me go, maybe I can.
Yes.
Maybe we can do more to get our daughter Lauren to participate in some of these things, because there is a way. She figured out a way to do it. And she has so many difficulties, physical difficulties, but a smile on her face in every post.
Yes, I think I know exactly who. Well, I know of a lady, it might be a different one, but I have seen her. She sometimes has a cane. She's practicing her squats. And I'm like, and here I am some days like, oh, squats. But I don't have to have a cane to do them.
Well, I'm talking about a post where she said, here I am walking past my walker. It was
that one. Yes. And realizing that she can do more than before. And that's going to look so different for different people, more than before. Exactly. But when you see large groups of people who are striving to change, who are making changes, who are doing a little more than before, it makes me want to do better as well. And I think it's a huge part of this growth mindset is surrounding yourself by people who are growing.
Absolutely. People might not realize that your groups, they aren't just you. They're just you. We all join to get access to you. We make friends with you on that face on that YouTube video, and you're just vivacious personality. And we're like, if anyone can get me to do it, she can, So we join to be your friend, Kelly. And hopefully we did notice you have now over 200-page handbook, right? And now assistant coaches, right? Now breakout rooms. You don't know that when you join. And you have the meetings, the 4 meetings. You have a closed Facebook group where you can just be yourself and absorb from everybody else. But I don't think they can appreciate the depth and breadth of wisdom.
Within everyone there. Yeah. I just looked on the back of my sheet and realized we have one really big topic left that we need to cover. And part of it is willingness.
Okay.
willingness to sit with hard things, because as people cut out these addictive substances, so we've got the physical part of it, we're cutting that out. And as they surround themselves with greatness, and as they're putting awesome food into their mouths, they're doing so many great things. Some feelings, not all shiny, happy feelings, some
Yeah,
feelings may arise.
absolutely.
And without having our old coping techniques, which may have involved sweet things,
Hmm.
it can be really hard. And so what does willingness look like to you?
Okay. So I walked through this in our emotional eating breakout room to give everyone a perspective of what we're talking about. So we weren't really focused on mindset, because everyone, doesn't matter if you have the best mindset in the world, at some point you're going to have a day. And I shared that my reason for standing in front of an open fridge, just looking for something to put in my mouth and telling me all of the carnivore, non-sweet options are just not going to cut it.
Yeah.
My usual reason is life's hard. Today, something bad happened. Something harder than usual happened. I deserve it, right?
Right.
Just want that comfort. That used to be my go-to, and I'm just falling into that familiar pattern. So we talked about ways to conquer that. And you can use it for bigger reasons too, to really get to the heart of what the true problem is. You can use it for if you're in pain, and I've used it for that over the years. But we're going to talk about it specifically to conquer emotional eating. So while the refrigerator door is open, what do you do? Well, the first thing I suggest is pause. We had some group member talk about the power of the pause.
Yes.
Just remember that. Maybe that needs to be a sticky note on your fridge, the power of the pause. My big thing is the exhale. So if you've had a hard day and you're in that mental place, likely you are shallowly breathing. And so even while you're like, okay, I'm going to approach this a proper way, what do I need to do? Pause, exhale a few times, like fully. Just that could actually change your power, because now you're getting the oxygen that you need, right? And when you start breathing at a healthy rate, it brings down your blood pressure and everything functions in a healthier fashion in your body. But then this willingness is what you said in your handbook, many psychiatrists call it, a willingness to be with the hard feelings. When you really sit with the feeling, the physical feeling, name it and let it lead you to what the true problem is. And guess what? You're seeking emotional comfort because deep down there's a problem and it needs to be solved. But it's so much easier just to soothe yourself with something. So there's two other steps that I like to add. When you have that refrigerator thrown open and you're in the throes of about to grab something that you have told your future self you would not grab, that's not the time to really think through these things. You want to have a plan for when it happens. And there are things instead of food that give you peace, that give you emotional comfort, but you need to kind of be aware of them before that moment happens. So what's really more interesting to me is the sitting with your feelings to figure out who you are, especially people our age. We've lived a while and we don't realize we've grown and we've changed. And maybe the things that give us comfort today are not the same things that gave us comfort years ago, or that give general people, some people are like, oh, take a nap, go for a walk, da, 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 da. Well, first of all, in your handbook, you give great options for what to do instead of reach for that food that you've told yourself you're not going to eat. And I counted them, and there were 39 ideas in there. And I listed some of them for our group members in my presentation. And I said, most of these don't work for me. I can't leave my house to take a walk because my daughter, I can't just leave her. I can't take a bath, take a shower, take a nap. She needs me. Those aren't options. And I said, when I'm already whiny and feeling sorry for myself, don't
Slap
show me
in the face.
ideas of things I can't do because I'm going to turn whinier. So you might want to think this beforehand. What are my things?
Yeah.
What do I love to do? And when I sat through this process of going, what brings Nannette peace? The things that bring me peace are going outside and getting my face in the sun and petting my dog. It's as simple as that.
Yes.
And if I remember that, when I pause, hey, before I make this decision, how about if I go outside with my dog in the sun and then see if I still need something sweet on my palate? So it's a fabulous process. And then after you've been through this process, have the things at the ready. Like have a dog. If you're me, have a dog.
Have the dog.
But if you realize that taking your dog for a walk, which your dog, maybe you have a dog that loves to go for a walk no matter the time of day, have that leash right next to the fridge as a reminder and say, maybe even a note. I would need a note. I like to read words on my wall. This instead of that, or how about this instead of food? Maybe remind yourself, don't play that game on your phone. But if you need comfort, if you need time away from your people, if it's like, hey, I need time where I don't think, things are really hard right now. Hey, I give myself permission to play free cell or that type of thing. Just have it at the ready. So those are the three steps, as far as I'm concerned, to really sitting with it and figuring out how you get out of the throes of the emotion when it hits you.
I like that. I also was thinking, like, while you were talking, I was thinking, yes, I've got my arsenal of things that when I'm hit with a hard emotion, but then sometimes I also think we go into cravey mode. Crave. I need it. I need. And it feels like your head's in a swarm of bees. Mm-hmm. People say it's like they're lit up like a Christmas tree. It just feels like I must get the thing. And sometimes I think that's partly because our basic needs aren't being met. We don't feel safe. We don't feel loved. We are not hydrated. We have not had enough sleep. We are not well fed. We've let ourselves go too long without food. Sodium is like a legit requirement. So sometimes if you say, before I turn to food, let me just make sure I am safe and I'm loved. And if that's not the case, we should work on that before we work on the food situation, right? But I can almost always say, I know I am safe and I'm loved. That is a basic human need. In case you think that's silly, we need to acknowledge that. Get a glass of water, maybe put some salt on your tongue. Make sure you have had enough real food. My guess is if your head's in a pantry, you probably haven't. So let's get some meat. And then we can also come up with, okay, it is a need that we get some sunlight. I mean, our house plants will die without it. Humans need some sunlight. We need fresh air and we need a little movement like these. So I think it can be worth making sure that are my basic needs being met? How could I work on that? And oftentimes it means I just need to go to bed. Human connection is another thing. People are often just bored and lonely. They're turning to food because they were not getting these needs met. So I would start basic human needs. And while we're figuring that out, some of the stuff that you're discussing is almost like a little distraction to buy yourself some time, right? Go walk the dog, which fresh air, sunshine, connection with your pet, talk to the Lord, right? Some basic human needs, but it buys you time because those intense cravings do pass and people really do need to know that.
Yeah.
Also, get it out of your house.
Yes, absolutely. And actually in the emotional eating presentation, the first thing I gave 2 ideas, physical things to do to prevent the moment, which was to get it out of your house and to have those little signs on your fridge, those mantras that really speak to you. So you have to go through them to get at the food that you're seeking in the moment. When you're mentioning just spending time with the Lord, I want to say too about that mindfulness practice, that sitting with the feeling. I do it in conversation with the Lord. Like I do everything that way. And so it's sounds a little bit like prayer. You don't have to, and certainly you should let the feelings rise. And no, I don't know if we said this clearly, there are no bad feelings.
Right.
He gave us each of them for a very good reason, to protect ourselves and for so many beautiful reasons. So anger isn't something to be suppressed, right? It's something to tell yourself about what the problem is. And so I might be like, oh, Lord, I did not know. Okay, what you showing me there?
Yeah. So let's bring it home back to carnivore and wrap it up, because I think we're about at the hour mark. Okay. If people are thinking, what does this have to do with carnivore? Well, I think most people who come across this channel probably have a pretty good idea that sugar is bad, walks are good, sleep is good, go to the gym, work on your muscles, and drink some water. Don't you think most people know?
Yeah.
We could have come on here and said the same thing, and I will. Probably
Uh-huh.
10 times more in the next 2
Uh-huh.
weeks. Talk about those things. They're huge. But at some point, if people are hearing them and will start and then go back, and it's sort of a self-sabotaging, not able to progress forward. I think it's worth addressing the underlying issues, whether it's emotional eating or this fixed mindset that I can't progress. I'm stuck. I am who I am kind of feeling.
Right.
And so our hope for today is that thinking through some of these things, is there anything that you are afraid of underlying that is keeping us from what we say we really want? So we might say, I really want to lose 100 pounds, but underneath that is a fear of loose skin, is a fear of having to buy new clothes, is a fear of people looking at your body up and down, the fear of uncertainty, because I've never seen that number on the scale. And so when we dig a little deeper and we address that things can change and we can grow, and thinking about ways to deal with the actual cravings instead of just saying, okay, everybody, cut out sugar and go eat some meat. Have a great day. So we got a little deeper today. I hope people are cool with it.
Yeah. Yeah. For the folks that hear what you say and it lands on the list of shoulds.
Yeah.
I should. But this is what you're used to. This is your familiar. How do you move from comfort to move into that territory of unfamiliar? And we hear it said that you should not should on yourself, right?
Right.
How do you get it out of that should mindset and that ability to just open up? And this process of getting to the heart of your real obstacles is not just, that you're not choosing to do what you should. Maybe there's a deeper obstacle, and we're here for you if you discover it or if you want help discovering it, right?
Yes. Yeah. Hey, thanks, Nannette. I always enjoy our talks. We spend a lot of time together, sister.
We do. And I enjoy it thoroughly. Thank you.
Me too. Right, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next Saturday. Bye.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Hey, so Nannette said that if I'm going to tell people that I made up 7 habit songs for children to sing at school, video or it didn't happen. This is the worst idea I've ever heard. Hey, remember how that angel sang Cindy at the end of the last video? This is going to be the opposite of that, but my Wagoneer is here, so at least there'll be one cool thing. Habit 1, be proactive, you're in charge of you. And that brings us to habit 2. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. Have a plan, stick to it, and you'll be just fine. Habit 3, we put first things first. We can all play only after we work. Habit 4, we always think win-win. How can we all be happy in the end? Habit 5, see first to understand. Think with your heart, not just with your head. Habit 6, work together, make success multiply. And that's what we call synergize. Habit 7, take time to sharpen the saw. Take care of yourself, mind, body, and all. We live the 7 habits successfully. And that's why there's a leader in me. Oh, maybe nobody will stick around for the ending. Okay, bye.